Okay, we're talking about angles, angle measures, we're talking about the parts of angles, all that good stuff. Once we're through that, we'll get to a couple of vocab terms that are really very, very straightforward, and then we'll talk about the types. That's kind of where I want to end today, the types, and talk about measurements a little bit. It should be pretty quick. I'm going to kind of fly through this, that way you have enough time. You are going to get a handout from me today that you will need to use for the homework coming out, not this homework, but the next one eventually next week that we get, and for the tests and stuff. So the handout I give you today is one that you do not want to lose. I almost recommend that you put it in your textbook, if you have a physical book, or you put it in your trapper keeper or something, not your computer bag, but you put it somewhere where you know where it's at and you're not going to lose it. It's not going to just fall out randomly. Because the handout, you need it for tests and stuff, you'll have to bring it back up, so I'm going to give you that later today. But the first thing we have to do is get through our definition. Let's talk about what an angle is. We'll talk about the parts. All right, angle, let's go through the definition. An angle is formed by two rays that share a common endpoint. Now that endpoint is called a vertex. All right, I'll let you write that down. So this is going to get us to the parts of an angle. There's little things we have to discuss. So, two rays share common endpoints. Two rays that share a common endpoint. Okay, that endpoint is called a vertex. So here's what I like to do. I know some of you are still writing, that's good. Draw a ray on your paper, anywhere you want. Now you're going to need some room around it. You're going to draw around it, so don't put it at the very bottom of your paper or the very top of your paper, right next to words. Like give it a little bit of space. Draw a ray, you can have it face any direction you want. That's a ray. Rays have an endpoint, they have an arrow going in one direction. I don't care where it faced for you. You go up, down, right, left, I don't really care. It's however you do your ray. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to draw another ray, but it has to be attached to that one at the same endpoint. So wherever the endpoint's at, have another ray going off of that one and go in a different direction like such. You have two rays connected. That's an angle. In fact, the angle is sitting right here. This is the angle that we're talking about. Part that people get mixed up on is all the vocab terms that are going to come up. But remember, the angle is right where that little wedge is. It does not matter the length of the rays. If the rays are longer or shorter, that makes no difference to the angle. That really messes with people. Because they're like, oh, the rays are bigger, it's a bigger angle. No, no, no. The angle is right at the vertex. It's right at this spot right here. This is the vertex. It doesn't matter if the rays are longer, because we're going to measure here. It doesn't matter how long the tails are. So why that's important is if you ever had to measure an angle, right, to figure out how big it is, you need to put your compass down on the actual paper, and we're just going to measure that. Actually, not a compass, but a protractor. We put a protractor down, and we're going to measure right where that little angle sits, right where the vertex is. The vertex is actually the most important spot, because that's the part we measure. All right, is there any questions of what an angle looks like? Let's talk about the terms, though, the vocabulary. Okay. On this angle, let's give it a couple points. Let's give it some letters here. I want to give it 3 letters. Let's go with A, B, and C. I'm not going to be too creative today. A, B, and C. B is going to be right where the vertex sits, so label your angle with those, A, B, and C. We need to talk about the notation for how you would answer an angle. So maybe the question in the book or the homework says, name an angle that's 30 degrees or whatever degrees it is. We'll talk about that here in a minute, the measurement of it. Okay, if you had to ever name it, so the notation, how you answer your homework questions. If you ever have to name an angle, you need to draw a mock picture of the angle, a very small little mock picture, and then put the letters behind it that make your angle, ABC. 3-letter system. The middle letter has to be the vertex. Has to be the vertex. You can't put them in random order like CAB. You can't do that anymore. The B has to be the middle. So if you want to be that person that switches letters around, there's only one way you can switch them. CBA. Because you have to leave the B in the middle. Now the book does this silly thing where they tell you in the book that you can write it with 1 letter. So you can write it just angle B. Okay. Yeah, you can do that if the picture is one single item like that. You agree that's a very simple looking picture. You can do it for a single picture. The problem is you will never see a single picture probably ever again in this room, because everything we're going to be seeing will be stuff like this, where there is just tons of angles off of it. We can't just call this, maybe this middle letter here, let's call this G. I just can't call that angle G, because I don't know which one you're talking about. Or maybe it's combinations of them. I have no idea. So you have to give it a 3-letter system. That tells me exactly how to draw it, A to B to C. So it's got to be a little wedge piece. If they give you numbers on the inside, they give you a number, like let's say they put a 2 in here. They put a 2. Sometimes they do that. That's the name of it. It's angle number 2. Angle 2. That's fine. You can call it. That's okay to do. Because on these pictures over here, going back to this like crazy picture that I have drawn, they might number them. You know, they might have digits in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now, if I tell you angle 6, you know exactly which angle I'm talking about. I'm talking about this angle right here. So you can go find it. So the number system is okay.
I have something for you.
Oh, yes. Look at that.
You can match me.
Oh, good. All right. Thank you. All right. Questions on the angles? Yes, please.
What if it was a combination of like 1 and 6? Would you put 1, 6, or would you have to put the letters?
Yeah, the letters. It's a great question. Yeah, actually, you just blew my mind. That was a great question. If they're combinations, like 1 and 6, this huge angle here, yeah, you can't tell me the angle 16 or don't say angle 7. Don't do that. You got to give me whatever the letter system is. So if this letter is, let's go with F, G, and H. So F to G to H. So I'm going to get rid of all these other things so I'm not confusing you. So if it's 1 and 6 mixed together, so it's this huge angle right here, F to G to H. Angle, or HGF, I guess. But great question. That's really good. Okay. Other questions? Okay. Now, obviously, these are the main parts. One thing that we're going to talk about on Monday, coming up, is because we're going to have to be drawing angles, right? It's part of our constructions when we draw objects. They have certain angle sizes. We need to talk about the process of drawing angles so that everyone in this room draws the exact same style angle. What I mean by that is, raise your hand if your picture looked like mine. Like when because you drew it on your own, right? You drew a ray and you drew it. Did it look exactly like mine? No. I mean, they're going every which way. Some could be going up, some could be down, left, right. There's this process, there's an actual like system for how you draw angles so that it guarantees that your pictures always look like mine. It guarantees it. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Okay. So those are the parts. So you got your rays, you got the vertex. When we get to Monday, we'll talk about more parts and more terms. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is interior versus exterior. There's an inside of the angle, there's the outside of the angle. The interior, this is probably one of the easier parts to figure out. This is an interior side of an angle. You can have things on the inside. There could be dots and points inside the plane. Because my marker board's a plane, I can put dots in here and call it different letters. Those points can be on the inside of the angle. They're interior. The exterior is obviously the outside of your angle. This is the exterior. The outside. So just be aware of that if they start using that terminology a little bit, like, hey, name a point that's on the exterior of this, they're talking about the outside. Typically for angles, they're always talking about the smaller wedge. So like interior is always the smaller side of your angle, exterior is always the bigger side. That's just how they do it, so it keeps it straight in the head and what they're talking about. Because you can't talk about the outside of an angle, angles can be pretty big. Okay, questions on interior versus exterior. I know it's a simple little concept, I didn't really need to go over too much, but just want to make sure you know the terms. There's more vocab words that are going to be in with the parts, but we'll save that for Monday when we start drawing stuff. Okay, let's talk about the types, and then we can get to that handout today. Types of angles. So the different classifications, so types. Alright, there's 5 types of angles. This is the part that most people like, they're like, there's 5? There's 5. 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Most people know the first 3 or 4 maybe, but the 5th one, most people have never seen. I had last year and somebody actually knew it, and I was very surprised by it. Okay, number 1, first type of angle. It's the smallest types of angles you have. Acute. Acute angles. Acute angles are tiny, they're small. How I think of this is stupid, but this is my word thing that I think about in my head. I think of like acute angles are small, so like I think of like puppies are small, they're cute. Cute puppies, acute is small. It's anything from 0 degrees up to 90, but you cannot include 90. So it's got to be just less than 90. So what I mean by that is like the angle I have drawn on the board, my ABC, that's an acute angle. The angle isn't 90 degrees. 90 degrees is when you have a perfect L shape. This angle is definitely less than an L shape. So it's anything from 0 and up. So this doesn't work. You know, that's the L shape. I don't want that. I'm talking anything smaller. We're going to talk about measurements on Monday as well. We'll do more with that, especially with the handout we're going to do today. Okay, so anything from 0 up to 90, but not included. Now, the second type. Is called a right angle. A right angle. That's exactly 90. It's exactly 90. That's the perfect L shape. A right angle. Now, there's other names for right angles. And this is the part you need to get used to, is when you get to a college level like class, they'll talk about, instead of just saying right angles, they'll say, so here's the other words for right. They could say perpendicular. Perpendicular means right angles. There's the word orthogonal. Orthogonal, that's right angle. They could talk about the word flush. That's usually like a carpentry thing. Oh, you're flush, you're up against it, it's perfectly right. They could talk about it as square. That's sometimes in carpentry as well. Oh, the corner square. Perfect. I personally always use right and perpendicular. That's the 2 I use. That's my go-to. But the book, I guess my pre-calc book would use the word orthogonal. Questions with right angles. L shapes, perfect. Now, on Monday when we start talking, we'll talk about the L shape and the little box I had drawn in that picture a little bit ago. We'll talk about that on Monday. There's a reason why there was that little box in the corner. And it's not the reason what most people think it is. So you have to see the drawings when we start getting to it. All right, third type. Anyone happen to know what the third one is? Please. Obtuse. Obtuse. We're actually really good at this. You guys know these pretty good. So, obtuse. Okay, it's anything that's past 90, but you're going up to 180. So these are big angles. These are big. So anything that's past the L shape. So if you're past L-shaped, it'd be something like this. So here's my angle going this way. This is obtuse. What I think of is the word obese, big, obtuse, right? OB, the first two letters, obtuse, obese, same thing, they're the same. So they're huge, they're big, right? So that's the concept. You're past 90 degrees, you're past the L shape. Now if you get to perfectly 180, the fourth type,
I think it's called a straight piece.
straight. Straight is when you're exactly 180. Now this one, once you see the picture, things will start to click a little bit. Let me explain. A straight angle is exactly 180. Here's a straight angle. Draw my ray, draw my other ray. That's 180 degrees. What does that look like to you? It looks like a line, right? That's another name that people always call lines. Straight lines, right? They would say, oh, it's a straight line. Yeah, straight lines because it's a straight angle. That's why they actually call it a straight line. A lot of people just don't even think about it. That's the part that you need to see, that it's straight because it's 180 degrees. It's also called opposite rays, two rays that face opposite directions. So there's a couple other terms to that, but straight angles, 180 degrees perfectly. So if you're going forward and you turn all the way around, go the opposite direction, that's a straight angle you just took, 180 degrees. Okay. Next, number 5, the fifth one. This is the one that some people don't know. It starts with an R.
Reverse angles.
What?
Reverse angles.
Nope. 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 Starts with an R though. Anyone else want to take a stab? Like to guess? Anyone else? Second letter is an E.
Regular.
No, not regular. Like to guess?
Reflex.
Reflex. Reflex, not reflect, but reflex. Reflex angle. That's when you're from 180 up to about 360. So when you're past 180. So I have my 180 degrees here. If I went past that, so I went past that and I went down here. So now it's not 180 degrees anymore. This is a reflex angle. You're kind of going the long way around now. You're going past 180, you're past straight. Now why they call it reflex comes down to anatomy. The best way I can tell you this, hold out your arm straight in front of you. Hold your arm out. Okay. Most people, if you're holding your arms straight, can't go past straight. Some females can, right? Some males can, if you're really flexible. I can't, okay? Some people have that luxury, they can go past, let's see if I got any. Yeah, actually Bree's pretty good. She actually has you're very flexible, so you got that thing where you can go past. Most guys can't, the reason why, we just have different muscle structures. Some guys can, they're really flexible. But what a reflex is, let's say your arm doesn't go past straight. Most arms don't, okay? If your arm were to go past straight, like let's say a football injury, and it happens a lot, you're trying to tackle, your arm goes past straight. It's called a hyperextension, right? So what happens, you're tearing your ligaments and your arm goes back this direction a little bit further than it should. Well, what the body's natural reaction is, because your arm went past 180, the body's natural reaction is to reflex and pull it in and cradle it. It's a reflex angle. It's past straight. So it comes from anatomy, right? So it's a reflex angle, anything from 180 up to 360. So that's going the long way around. So it's like, most of the time when you look at a picture like that, you think of like the exterior, but that's when we're talking about the big angles themselves. So we'll have to be kind of aware if we're talking about reflex or just anything else. Those are your 5 types. Most people don't know that. Now if you're at 360, you did a full circle, you're back to start. So, but there's a bunch of terms we're going to talk about on Monday. Now, there was something I wanted to hand out today. There's a handout. Because it's hard to measure angles when you don't have a protractor in front of you. Well, what I do is every year, everyone in this room gets a protractor from me. It's clear, see-through, it's free, you get to keep it. Don't lose it. It's your only one you get from me. If you lose it, you have to go buy yourself one. And it doesn't have to look like this, you can go buy one of those plastic ones. But this one's free, okay, hand it out. But I would always recommend, keep it in your book, notebook, I don't know where you're gonna keep it. You're gonna keep it somewhere where you can access it daily when we need it. Because we're gonna use this to draw pictures from now on. Now, if you're looking at it, you're like, Ward, the numbers are backwards. You're a dork, turn it over. It does happen. People are looking at the numbers are backwards. Just flipped over.
Yeah, there is.
All right, on Monday, we're going to start practicing using this object. Now, the reason why I did this, it's just clear see-through paper, right? It's overhead projector paper. I just printed my protractor right on top of it, so it gets see-through. The reason why I like it being see-through is that now you can put it down on paper and you can see the lines behind it. So, because the plastic ones cover it. If your angle is really tiny, you can't see it. On this one, you can. You can see right through the actual paper itself, and you can line it up. We'll talk about how to line it up and measure things. If you notice, there's two sets of numbers on it, correct? There's the inside track and the outside track. It depends on how they draw the angle. On Monday, we're going to try to get to a point where the angles are all drawn the same way, so you only have to use one set of numbers the whole time. But they do draw both ways, because obviously in the real world, angles can face different directions. But this is going to be helpful. Don't get it wet. If it gets wet, guess what? The ink comes off of it. It's on overhead paper. It literally, you can scratch it off. Don't do that. Okay? So keep it protected. I know that it's kind of big and unwieldy, right? There's a lot of extra plastic. By all means, you can cut that stuff off. But here's what I'm going to warn you. Because I've had people do it in years past. So I always give them that protractor. You know, this one, I give them this. And then they go ahead and they start cutting. They start chopping it out, they start doing this. And what you'll notice is that it's impossibly hard to cut a round object with a straight scissor. So they'll start cutting and you're going to start seeing there's like little gouges in this thing because they couldn't get it straight. You're losing some of your angle measure when you do that. I'd almost recommend if you're going to cut this, just cut it off at straight angles and don't try to get as close as this person did. Because now they're missing a bunch of the measurement. Because they couldn't, because they didn't realize that their scissor wouldn't allow them to do it correctly. So just be careful of that. Questions at all about this object? You need it for the homework. You need it for the test. And I'm not joking. Because on the test, I'll have angles and I'll say, what's the measurement of it? And you have to be exact what the measurement is. It's like, oh, it's 31 degrees. There's no way you could have guessed it. It has to be exact. So don't lose it. Number one thing I always have is like, Ward, I think they left it in the library. It's gone. You have to go buy one now. Because you need it for the test. Don't lose it. I'm telling you. If I find it on the floor today, I'm going to be so mad. Because it happens every time. I hand them out and it's gone instantly. All right. Homework's on the board. Page 30. That was the stuff I gave you yesterday. Make sure you're working on it. Help each other out. I know, like, Molly, you were gone yesterday, so okay, watch the videos tonight and stuff. I'll have the videos. Okay, rest of the time is yours. You have about 15, 20 minutes. Not bad. Almost right on. Check. I don't think it's gonna work.
Could I go grab that?
I just, one, I got one in the back. So, yeah.
I know.
Okay, so that one, I almost recommend that you draw it on that like grid paper to see what you're doing. Because what they're doing is they're giving you a segment, they give you the middle of the segment and one of the points, and then we'll find the color point you should set. So if you draw it, you can kind of figure out where that point is. So that's probably the easiest way to kind of explain it.
Do it at home.
Or they can do it at home, they can do it at home. But it has to be at home first.
You will not need to draw like any of them. They just ask for distance from the point. The only one that I'd probably recommend that you do draw would be like a rope line.
Well, 9 and 10 have to do it. At least it has guidance for the points that we.
Yeah, so you can just use the formula. Yeah, you don't need to see the formula. You just have to use that formula. Any of them, depends on what number. There's rare few. There's rare few that look at the others.
What is inbox? Inbox mean? I need to get it. Inbox. Oh, you do?
Or you don't?
No, nobody was going to.
Three signatures, and I still say that. I promise it.
You're in trouble, you have to go away. She's like,
I didn't see that. I saw the real news actually. Was overall grade?